You're like my only real friend, Sara. Everyone at my new school pretends they like me because my mom writes the midnight books, you know.
Hi. Are you a friend of Marie's?
Yeah, I am. Is she here?
Oh, no, she's at an appointment. She'll be back later, though.
She's not.
No.
Well, would you mind sending my copy of Midnight Blood-Drenched Tears, please?
They want to meet her, or they ask me shit about what's gonna happen in the books. Like I know.
Oh, that's so annoying.
How's it going with your host sister? She goes back to Poland soon, right?
She was totally lame. She, kept to herself and was way into my mom.
I'm about to leave.
Oh.
I would like to say goodbye.
It was. So you were such a big help.
Oh, thank you so much, Lily. You think so?
Yes. You were really helpful helping me move all that stuff to the gallery. Just really, it's just lovely to have you here.
I would love to be back.
Had the hots for her?
I don't know. She just asked about art and the gallery and all of that, but seemed to me like an excuse just to be around her.
Ew, what a weirdo. I have to go in a minute. I have an appointment with a healer. It's like a shrink for hippies.
Maybe the healer will rub crystals all over you.
Hi, I have some proposals and slides for Dana Miss Holly.
She had to take some to the airport last minute, but she told me to take your samples and she'll be able to call you tonight.
Am I making you uncomfortable? I'm sorry, I just get excited.
This film, taken as a whole and viewed through a queer, emotionally grounded lens that centers women's interior lives rather than sensational plot mechanics, reads as a constellation of moments in which women recognize one another across lines of age, class, nationality, incarceration, and professional authority, and Scene 3 with Dana and Misha becomes a particularly resonant articulation of how queer longing, admiration, and connection often surface in socially acceptable disguises: mentorship, hospitality, professional, networking. Because women, and especially queer women, are trained to translate feeling into something that will not alarm the world. Dana, an art gallery owner whose life is structured around curation, judgment, and the careful management of other people's expression, embodies a kind of contained adulthood familiar to many lesbians who have built successful, respectable lives while quietly bracketing off parts of themselves that feel too disruptive or too difficult to name. And Misha, the younger Polish host's daughter whose presence has been framed as temporary, helpful, and ultimately disposable, enters Dana's orbit with the open admiration and emotional directness that often accompanies youth and cultural displacement, making her both alluring and dangerous in a way that is not about sex but about truth. Their goodbye scene is deceptively gentle, polite gratitude, shared memories of labor and conversation, talk of art and future plans, all of it cloaked in the language of productivity and opportunity. Yet beneath that surface hums a recognition that something meaningful has passed between them, something that does not fit neatly into the roles assigned to either woman. Misha's repeated insistence that she does not want to leave, that she would like to return not just for the household or even for Sara, but because of you, lands as a moment of emotional honesty that many queer women recognize as both exhilarating and terrifying, because it refuses the safety of ambiguity and names attachment in a way that cannot be easily dismissed as professional courtesy. Dana's visible discomfort, her careful recalibration of boundaries, and her instinctive move toward contextualizing the relationship as mentorship or inspiration rather than mutual connection mirrors the real-world pressures queer women face to downplay intensity, to translate feeling into something socially legible, especially when age, power, or parental identity complicate the dynamic. Importantly, the film does not frame Misha's admiration as predatory or Dana's hesitation as moral failure. Instead, it situates both women within a social structure that is deeply uneasy with women wanting each other in ways that are not easily categorized. And that discomfort is amplified by the intergenerational aspect of their bond, which forces Dana to confront not only desire but responsibility, legacy, and the gaze of others. This tension echoes earlier scenes in the film, including the prison storyline, where women like Sin and Nikki are allowed moments of profound emotional intimacy only within the tightly regulated context of care and mentorship, never as something that might threaten institutional order. The prison becomes a powerful metaphor here, a space where women's bodies and choices are surveilled, where touch and connection are restricted, and where any deviation from prescribed roles is suspect, yet also a place where queer forms of kinship often emerge because the state has stripped away conventional support systems. Women viewers, particularly lesbians, understand this paradox intimately, as many have learned to build chosen families and deep bonds in environments that are hostile, indifferent, or openly punitive. Whether those environments are literal prisons, conservative households, workplaces, or cultural narratives that insist women's love for one another must always be secondary. The film's critique of prison is not loud but cumulative, emerging through the contrast between institutional coldness and the warmth that individual women manage to offer each other despite it. And this critique resonates with queer audiences who recognize how systems of punishment and control disproportionately harm those who already exist outside the margins of acceptability. In this context, Dana's home and gallery function as softer versions of the same system, spaces of privilege and culture that nonetheless enforce boundaries about who belongs, who stays, and who must eventually leave. And Misha's status as a temporary guest mirrors the precarity many queer women experience when they are welcomed only conditionally, as long as they do not ask for too much emotional truth. The mention of Sara and the later encounter with Nina, framed carefully and without voyeurism, further complicates the narrative by introducing questions of artistic transgression, generational influence, and the ethics of exposure. But the film resists sensationalism by keeping its focus on how women learn about themselves through proximity to others, not through exploitation. For queer women, seeing these dynamics play out without being reduced to scandal or titillation is itself radical, because it affirms that the most consequential moments of our lives often happen in conversations in cars, in pauses at doorways, in things almost said, and then carefully reshaped to fit the room. Society's persistent discomfort with women expressing love for each other, whether that love is romantic, aspirational, or something unnamed, stems from the threat such expressions pose to hierarchies that depend on women's emotional labor being predictable and contained, and the film exposes this discomfort by showing how quickly warmth must be managed, explained, or deferred once it risks becoming visible. Dana and Misha's interaction mirrors the real-world experience of many lesbians who have been someone's role model or inspiration when what was actually shared was mutual recognition, and who have felt both the power and the grief of choosing restraint in order to remain legible and safe. By placing this scene alongside the prison narrative, the film suggests that while the settings differ, the underlying logic is the same. Women's connections are permitted only insofar as they do not disrupt existing power structures, and queer women in particular are asked to constantly assess the cost of honesty. Yet the film also insists on the value of these connections, however fleeting or constrained, portraying them not as mistakes or temptations but as evidence of women's capacity to see and be seen, even under pressure. For LGBTQ+ viewers seeking authenticity rather than spectacle, this approach offers a rare sense of recognition, affirming that longing does not need to culminate in transgression to be real, and that visibility is not always about declaration, but about allowing oneself to feel the weight of what passes between women, even when it must remain unspoken. In weaving together stories of art, incarceration, mentorship, and goodbye, the movie ultimately argues that women's lives are shaped less by grand resolutions than by these charged, quiet moments, and that for lesbians especially, survival has often meant learning how to carry desire, care, and connection in forms that the world will tolerate, while still honoring their truth internally, a tension that the film neither resolves nor condemns, but holds with compassion.